Vuyo Mvoko joins us now live from Bujumbura in Burundi. Vuyo, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, that country has postponed a parliamentary election that was scheduled for today. Is the presidential vote still set for the 26th of this month?
Well, thanks very much, Ayanda. Yes, indeed, the legislative and local elections that were supposed to take place today were indeed postponed. But no date has been set yet for those, and which also means, of course, that no date has been set for the presidential election as well. But what the Electoral Commission told us yesterday was that they are going to try and meet that request by the heads of state that met in Tanzania last weekend, wherein it was proposed that the election take place in about 45 days or so. But what the Electoral Commission told us was that it was equally important to make sure that whatever is being done, whatever is being put as an alternative, actually is indeed constitutional. So they were looking at around a month or so. In other words, not quite the 45 days that was recommended, but at the same time making sure that there's enough lead time to actually resolve some of the outstanding issues. Among those outstanding issues is, of course, the issue of violence in certain parts of Bujumbura. They are quite satisfied that elsewhere in the country there are no problems, there have been no protests at all, but it's only certain parts of Bujumbura. They are trying to speak to all the parties concerned to make sure that they do buy into the idea, because one other thing that the Electoral Commission underlined, it was that no one objected when in Tanzania these issues were resolved. So they do think, or they do seem to think, that indeed everyone is going to come on board. Of course, there's going to be a dialogue next week where all political parties that intend contesting the election will come together with the IEC, but also together with other organizations like the United Nations, like the African Union, and the East Africa Community. So all those people are going to meet next week to basically chart a way forward and tie some of the loose ends. But what we're told isn't going to be an issue that's going to be put on the table. That is the issue of a third term for President Pierre Nkurunzuza. That issue, the ruling party believes it has been dealt with, and they believe that even the heads of state that met in Tanzania last week agreed with them that indeed the reading of the Constitution is that there will be nothing wrong with President Pierre Nkurunzuza contesting the election for another term. Ayanda?
Vuyo, you did touch on this in your answer, the situation on the ground in terms of violence. Just looking at news coming in, there is concern over political violence, and that's the word there from the UN head Ban Ki-moon. 105,000 Burundians have fled to neighboring countries. So what is the situation on the ground there? I mean, as we speak, we're seeing visuals of protests, of marches, of deliberations. What's happening there at the moment?
Well, in the days that we have been here, there has been hardly really incidents, major incidents happening. Even those that have been here before us were telling us so. Even the diplomats that we spoke to were also saying that over the past few days, there's hardly been really the kinds of activities that we've been seeing on television over the past month or so, which was one of the reasons that everyone seems to be optimistic that indeed the elections will go ahead in a month or so's time. They also believe that some of the people who were stoking the fires, as one of the bureaucrats told us, have either left or have gone tired, but also the young people who were seeing pelting police with stones, but also putting up barricades, protesting President Nkurunziza's desire to stand for a third term. They can hardly be seen. An interpretation by diplomats and some of the people from the ruling party, I must underline, is that they have gone tired. They have gone tired physically, but also they've gone tired of being used by people for no apparent reasons at all, because they believe that the reason there is all this uprising that we saw over the past month or so, it was politicians who could see that they were not going to win an election, then suddenly doing the sort of things that they believe will stall the election, in the hope, it is being speculated, that there will be some kind of an agreement struck, an agreement which will ensure that people do sort of remain in influential positions, even though they will not have rightfully won those positions. But then again, I must underline that we've only been here for a couple of days. We do not really have an in-depth knowledge of some of the nuanced stuff that may have influenced things over the past month, and that will perhaps have a bearing in what is going to happen over the next month or so. But we'll be speaking to the president of the country in another hour or so to get his view, his sense of what is going on here, and perhaps why it is that he insists on running for another term. That will be bringing you a little later. Ayanda?
Well, that's definitely one to look out for. Thank you so much, Vuyo. Vuyo Mvoko is our contributing editor live from Bujumbura there in Burundi. We will keep you updated on that interview with Mr. Pierre Nkurunzuza, the head of state there. But let's